Thank you everybody for joining us. I'm Jana Lieber, MTA Chair and CEO, here with the Long Island Railroad President, Rob Free, the President of MTA Construction and Development that builds all this great stuff, Jamie Torres-Springer, and our leading labor partner, Anthony Simon, does so much every day to make sure that the teamwork is maintained and improved. So thank you to everybody. There are a couple of great leaders from MTA Construction and Development behind me. Jamie will recognize them as well. Listen, it's great to be out on the island again. It seems like we've been doing this every couple of weeks to celebrate another ADA station on the Babylon branch here in Lindenhurst. Upgrades on the Amityville station were also finished a few weeks ago, so we're continuing to knock out these amazing ADA projects one after another. As I said, second and third Long Island Railroad stations to be completed in the last couple of months. The expanded accessibility is going to make a big difference for folks on this line. There are more than 1,300 people using this station every day. 100 trains, 40% more trains on the Long Island Railroad than a couple of years ago, and there are 100 trains here at Lindenhurst every day. As I said, Long Island Railroad's running so much more service than they used to. 40% more trains, 70,000 more trains every year as a result of those two transformational projects, the Long Island Railroad Third Track Project and Grand Central Madison. And they are delivering, folks, amazing on-time performance. This is an outfit that's delivering 96% on-time performance this year. And I really got to compliment Rob and the entire Long Island Railroad team for not just delivering great service, but doing it when you're pushing so many more trains through the infrastructure. Incredible, incredible work. And ridership on the Long Island Railroad is surging. Last Wednesday, 271,000 people rode the Long Island Railroad. It was a new post-COVID record. So in light of all that good news, ridership, performance, more trains, it is especially important that everybody is able to use this amazing system that we've got on Long Island. We need parents with strollers to be able to take their kids to the beach and to get to all kinds of places. People with mobility issues, whether they're in wheelchairs or just getting a little on in years, people who do not want to use the stairs. That's what these elevators are about, making sure everybody gets to take advantage of this incredible resource. Now, I am proud that Long Island Railroad is now 90+% accessible, 113 stations out of a total of 126 stations. You know, good for Long Island, you are way ahead of where the subway system is, and it's no secret that we are having to slow down some of those ADA projects, but I'm thrilled that Long Island Railroad is already so far along the curve to full accessibility. Listen, I want to thank the project team. I get to come out and celebrate when we hit these milestones, but it's the folks who worked really hard on this at MTA Construction and Development. Thank you, Anthony Tefano. Thank you, Andrew Wilson. These are people who work on Long Island Railroad capital projects every day, but especially the men and women of the construction companies that build this. Sinalta, Scalamandri, overseen by Lero. These are people who are construction professionals who step up, deliver projects on time and on budget, and that is the theme of MTA Construction Development. On time, on budget, and in many cases under budget. We're doing it again and again. I also need to shout out our federal partners at USDOT, always Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the guardian angel of the MTA in Washington, and the entire New York congressional delegation. The Long Island Railroad received more than $33 million in FTA formula funding for the Amityville and Lindenhurst projects, and we've gotten $169 million overall, including a ton of it from the bipartisan infrastructure law to finish the upgrades at 9 stations along the railroad. And we are grateful for the federal leadership in building infrastructure in the United States and especially on the MTA. So with that, let me turn it over to Rob Free, the president of the Long Island Railroad, who will tell you much more and better information than I've given.
Thank you, Jana. Good morning. I'd also like to thank Board Member Brinkman for joining us today, and also some of our railroad historical folks here to help us as well celebrate. So it's great to be here in Lindenhurst, a place at one time that I thought that every Long Island Railroad employee lived in. I'm going to date myself a little bit, but years ago it felt like every railroad employee lived in Lindenhurst, and if they didn't live in Lindenhurst at the time, they were from Lindenhurst. So there's a real special bond between the Long Island Railroad and Lindenhurst. So it's great to be here. But we're here today to celebrate two great communities, Amityville and Lindenhurst, with so much history. The Long Island Railroad is very proud to be part of that history, with train service coming to these communities starting in 1867. And here we are today with over 200 trains stopping at these two stations every weekday. We're always looking to improve our service and infrastructure. And that's why building a better railroad and improving the customer experience are two priorities at the Long Island Railroad. But providing the best customer experience is only possible if everyone can ride the railroad. And making our stations accessible helps make that possible. Expanding the reach of mass transit has and always will be a priority at the Long Island Railroad. With that in mind, our goal is to make all 126 of our stations ADA accessible. And today, we move closer to that goal as Lindenhurst represents the third of 4 stations to become accessible this year. Copeg, Amityville, and now Lindenhurst are complete. They knew you were coming. With Massapequa Park next. Yes, that's 4 stations on the Babylon branch to be accessible this year alone. These brand new elevators and all the associated ADA-related improvements add to the functionality and appearance of the station. I want to also thank all involved, including the project team, the contractors, our partners at Construction Development, and of course, our incredible employees. And of course, our ADA advocates for their tireless commitment to accessibility for all. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jamie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rob. It's great to be here today to celebrate the opening of another accessible Long Island Railroad station. Rob just said it. It's the third that we've done in the last few weeks. It gets us to 90%. And it's the third of 7 that are part of this ADA package, this design-build package. So many more to come. These 3 stations that we're talking about today were completed on a very aggressive 16-month schedule thanks to innovative contracting that C&D is implementing to deliver ADA accessibility better, faster, and cheaper across the whole system. Let me just take a minute to talk about what we did here, because accessibility means more than new elevators. Our riders get a lot of customer experience improvements along with accessibility. So this project, we did a power overhaul, overhauled the electrical capacity with a new elevator machine room and new electrical room. But for the customers, ADA accessible bathrooms, new sidewalks and curb ramps, improvements to wayfinding signage, and the public address systems, new tactile edge strips that you can see on both sides of the platform upstairs, handrail extensions on stair railings for customer safety, new CCTV cameras for better security, and in addition to all that, you can see upstairs we brought in a new canopy, 3 new canopy panels that were lifted in, brand new lighting, and we're going to improve the waiting room upstairs as well as part of this project. So there's a ton of customer improvements that get made, state of good repair, improvements to this station as we do the accessibility work. I want to also thank our great Railroads business unit led by Anthony Tufano, Andrew Wilson, Poonam Lalani, who are all here. We had a great team running this ADA package at the MTA, led by Jason Daybach, who's not here today, but Marie Jean is here along with her team, Melissa, Matt, and Larry. Great staff all working on these projects day and night. And of course, we've mentioned our contractor, Sidnalta Scalamandri, overseen by Lero with the design done by Parsons. We're very pleased with how this team is working, and we're excited to keep going and get 4 more stations done as part of all this work. Thanks very much, everyone. Oh. Let me turn it over to our friend Anthony Simon for his remarks.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, we're here to acknowledge that we're not letting up. Jamie, excellent job in his leadership in C&D. Jano as our MTA chair, and with the boots on the ground with the Vice President Anthony Tofano, Rob Free. This doesn't get done without all of that togetherness, without everybody working cohesively to get the job done. A lot of noise for the last couple of weeks, but as you hear all that noise, we continue to go on and we continue to bring what the commuters are looking for. The ADA accessibility is so important to all of us, to our commuters, to the chair of the MTA, to the head of the labor organizations, and we are going to deliver, as you see. We're not going to listen to the noise. We're going to deliver for all of our riding public. Everybody who needs accessibility is going to be getting their accessibility, and we will be here to deliver that every single time for you and for everybody that's involved. So thank you, everybody, including Jano and the team.
Okay.
All right, we got a few questions today. Let's start with Alfonso Castillo from Newsday TV. Alfonso.
Hello. Couple questions about accessibility. I know these projects are going forward. There was word last week that Hollis and Forest Hills were not, but then the materials that came out this week made it kind of sound like there was a chance that they would. It talked about potential cancellation. Can you kind of give clarity to what situation is there?
Some of it is terminology. What we've done with the capital program, we've been very upfront about it. That's been our goal, is transparency and accountability. Is to say, okay, right now, what the money we can count on is much less than it used to be before the pause on congestion pricing. So we are prioritizing the projects that go to safety, state of good repair, and the basic functionality of the system. There are a lot of great projects that were higher on the list to get started, but now have to be deferred a little bit. They move down the list, and that doesn't mean they're canceled. It means that we're hoping and expecting that there will be a new funding strategy put in place under the state's leadership, together with the legislature, that will pay for those. But for the time being, we're not going to advance projects that aren't just in that safety and functionality category. So that's the impact to projects like Hollis. It's Hollis and Forest Hills. Hollis and Forest Hills is they just move down the list, and we're hopeful it'll be a matter of just a delay and not a cancellation.
I'll follow up on that. Because, as you've touched on, the Long Island Railroad didn't get it as bad as some of the other agencies at the MTA with some of these cuts. Some opponents of congestion pricing out here on Long Island might see that as a kind of affirmation that we didn't really need this. I mean, so what was in it for us if, even when you take away congestion pricing, we still pretty much have the system that we have?
We're in a pause period, but I'll just remind you, the arguments for congestion pricing are not exclusively what value and extent of improvements come to any particular operation. Number one, Long Island Railroad riders overwhelmingly, when they get into the city, use the subway and bus system. So they benefit from those extensively. And two, even for drivers, the benefit of congestion pricing, less congestion, faster travel times overall, is what was being delivered for drivers, the people who feel it necessary to drive to the CBD, which is a really small portion of Long Islanders, but they would have that benefit as well. So environmental benefits, congestion reduction benefits, safety, reduction in crashes and traffic violence. Those were real benefits, and it is a temporary pause, in the words of the governor. So we're putting ourselves in a position to implement congestion pricing if and when the pause comes off.
All right, on the other side of the press line, we've got Tom Schnars there from News 12. Tom Schnars from News 12.
I mean, Rob, Alfonso, Rob reminds me, we've also got questions about how much rolling stock we can buy, which is a big issue for the Long Island Railroad. So even though I think I was accurate in saying that the Long Island Railroad portion of the capital program was further along than maybe the rest of the capital program, and that was just a reality. But there are significant pieces that are waiting for and somewhat dependent on the resolution of the funding need.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Hi.
Quick question. When do we expect for all the stations to be done with this portion of this project? Do we have a timeline?
This is a design build package It's making 7 of the Long Island Railroad stations ADA accessible, and it's actually doing work on 9 stations. There's improvement work on 2 other stations, and all those accessible stations are scheduled to be finished by the end of 2025, the end of next year.
And what would be next on the horizon? Well, like now that you guys are concentrating on the south line, what about Ronkonkoma line and the northern line?
Massapequa Park is coming next. And the other big project that's part of that package, that's a state of good repair package, is a lot of work on the Babylon station.
All right, thanks everybody. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.